Are now. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Bindia Patel. I am the Executive Director of Leadership Tomorrow, and we are thrilled to have so many of you all here for the info session for LT Elevate. This is a new program that we're launching this year, and we're super excited to dive in and really focus on some of the skills and the building your network. So I will go to the next slide. Um, Today we're going to do these quick intros, and then we are going to give you a very short intro to Leadership Tomorrow and tell you a little bit more about LT Elevate, and then really want to focus on the Q&A. So you all have a chance to ask any of your questions that you've got, and you know that we'll be asking you a question too. So real quick introductions. Megan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan, and I'm our Senior Communications and Operations Manager at Leadership Tomorrow.
Thanks, Megan. And C. Marie.
Hi, y'all. I'm C. Marie, and I will be your facilitator for your session. I'm super excited to work with you.
Awesome. So let's dive to the next slide, which is a little bit of an overview of Leadership Tomorrow. You all can see our mission and vision and values online. But for me, I just put it in my own words. For me, Leadership Tomorrow is this place, this organization that's been around for over 41 years. And ultimately, I think it's a place where people who want to do good for the region can come and feel like they get resources, they get community, and they get some space and time to think about how they want to develop as a leader. I fundamentally believe that leadership doesn't have to be lonely. People keep talking about how leadership is a lonely process. And for me, LT is really all about finding your humans who you want to grow and develop with. And doing that alongside each other is more fun and more productive. And so that's what LT is about in my own words. You could see our vision, mission, and values, and we're really committed to making sure those values show up in the way we operate internally as a team and also through all of our programs. So you'll see them show up. We'll be using them as anchors for all of the program work. And really excited to have you all as part of that journey. LT has three programs that we're running right now. We have LT Elevate, which is the one that you're here for the info session. We also have LT Impact, which is a 10-month cohort program that focuses both on networking and skills building, but also a bit more about the region. And then the third program we're just took over is LD Project Lead, which is for BIPOC folks who want to join nonprofit boards. And that'll take place in spring 2026 is the next one. I think with that, am I doing the next slide? I bet sure I am. And so really this is what LT Elevate is focused on is how can you kind of really focus on what your strengths and values are to figure out where your journey is going, and then how can you build your skills and connections so that you can go out and do that. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to C. Marie.
All right, welcome, 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 y'all. So 2 seconds about me. I love leadership programs. I am from Washington, D.C., and ran a leadership program there. And then before I had an address in Washington State, signed up for the Leadership Tomorrow program. So that's how much I love them because you get to do three different things. I think you get to hang out with folks that you normally don't hang out. You get to learn new stuff through the eyes of the people who are teaching it and through the eyes of the people who are in the program. So that's my big connection to LT and how I try to show up as a facilitator for you all. And when we think about this program, Elevate, there's three big pieces to the program year. So you'll have your orientation that starts, and by the way, I'm from the East Coast. If I talk too fast, someone just like give me like a sign, just like, I don't know, touch your belly and rub your head or something. I don't know. Did I do that right? I don't know. Whatever. Just let me know because I talk really fast. So there's three components to it. There's an orientation where we'll get together with your classmates, and there'll be 35 or so of you all, maybe 42, we'll see. And you'll get to know who's in the class and where people are from. And then we'll get into these monthly session days that I'll talk about in just a minute. And then you'll have a program graduation. It'll be over before you know it. It's super fast. It's only 6 months, but I think it's enough time for you to get to know more about yourself, how you show up in the world, how you lead, and what you want to do differently. So that's the structure of the program. And then in terms of how we're going to do this work together, and you're going to be learning in public. So if you like to learn and you're not afraid to learn in public, this is a space for you. If you're like, I don't know if I want to learn in public, maybe try it anyway. Like, just, push yourself out there. So
Seymour,
what
can
I
you
think
say what you mean by learning in public?
Oh, yeah. So what I say when I'm talking about learning in public is this is a cohort class, right? So there'll be, let's say, 37 of y'all, right, from all across the state who will learn about this work live in front of people. So you'll ask questions, you'll make mistakes, you'll have profound impact, you'll drop great knowledge for the rest of the class. That's what I mean when I talk about learning in public, right? So I'll learn from you all too. Like Garrett, I had to put my glasses on. Garrett will say something that I didn't know, right? And hopefully I'll be like, oh my God, thank you so much. I didn't know that. Or I'll make a mistake and Abby will be like, you know what, see Marie, it's actually so and so. And I'll be like, oh, thank you for that, Abby. Right? So I get to learn in public with you. So that's what I mean by learning in public. Does that answer your question? How's that?
Yeah, that's great.
Landon?
Thank you.
Okay. And y'all, as we're going through this, if you've got a question immediately, throw it in the chat or raise your hand and we'll stop and answer it. You don't have to wait until the end. But to get a little more depth for right now into what the program's going to look like over the 6 months, the way I think about it in these 6 classes, right, is this first one, finding your leadership voice, is, okay, well, who am I and how am I coming to this room? Like, what's my voice in terms of my leadership journey? Where am I right now? Where do I want to go? So we'll spend a lot of time doing some self-discovery in that first class. And then we're going to talk about communication. Because for me, when I think about my leadership journey, it's what I think, how I speak, how I act. And so that's part of the way that we shape the class, right? Is what are you thinking? How are you speaking? How are you acting? So in the communication class, we'll talk about the different communication styles, how to communicate, particularly in different moments, like whether it's a new moment, a tense moment, you're in a moment of conflict, right? Which we have a whole class for that in a second. But talking about your communication styles and what your growing edges are in terms of how you communicate right now, what you want to do differently. Then we're going to spend a whole session on conflict because we don't ever talk about it at work, but yet it happens all the time, right? We have conflict with our coworkers, we have conflict with our bosses, we have conflict with the board if we're in a nonprofit, right? So how do you talk about conflict? And for me, how do I neutralize it and think about the issue that we want to work through? So we'll spend the day talking about conflict, and then we'll talk about managing with integrity. And then when I talk about that, and when we talk about that, really that is like, what are your actual values? And how do you hold to them and manage up? I call it up, down, and sideways with some integrity so that I know that whatever my values are and the values of the organization are still being represented as a leader in the organization. And then we'll move to adaptive leadership, where we'll talk about some different ways to be flexible and literally adaptive in your leadership styles. We'll go through the pillars of adaptive leadership style and figure out which are the ones that you want to adapt and change within how you show up. And then we're going to zoom all the way back out, right, and talk about systems thinking. So thinking about how your organization functions and what are some different ways you hope to drive some of the change within your organization. So those are the 6 classes that we're going to work through. You'll have some guest facilitators. I'll do a lot of the content, but it's pulled from different BIPOC leaders throughout the years who have really strong foundations in the concept. So I'm not just making up like what I think is great for communication, right? We're going to use some actual frameworks from leaders in the field and some of my best practices that I've learned in the 25 years I worked in organizations. So I'll bring that to the light as well, along with guest facilitators that will come in and bring some of their work, and we'll do some live problem solving around each of these concepts. And then thinking about, okay, well, these are the things you're going to teach. Well, what do we hope that you get out of this? There's 4 big things, right? Is that you deepen your self-trust because you already know a lot about yourself and how you lead, right? So how can you feel more confident in the ways that you're showing up? How can you speak more confidently, right? So we all have growing edges around that. How can you work with in your teams, in your organization to make them stronger and more flexible and dare I say more innovative? And then how do you build some new muscles in terms of how you're working with your teams, with your boss, with any of the folks that you have to work with? So that's what we're hoping that you'll get from this training is to really just show up differently as a leader through these ways that you trust yourself, the way you speak, the way you're working with your teams, and really how you are building new muscles in terms of being flexible with yourself and your teams. So that's what we're hoping to gain. Are we having questions that I need to stop and answer right now?
And you can
No.
keep going. You're good.
Okay. All right. I'm almost done, y'all, and then we'll get to the questions. Okay. So the other thing that we think you'll definitely gain from participating in this program is that you're going to have an awesome cohort of folks that you're going to learn from. Right. So if we're talking about communication, you're going to learn from other folks in the room. Right. So Becca's going to have some great comments. Right. Steph will have some great comments. And you join this network of 2,700 or 2,800 other individuals who've come through the LT programs. So you'll have access to this network of other folks who've come through the LT programs, whether it's in the class, outside of the class, because you'll become an alumni of the program. So you'll have access to those folks. So that's a great bonus to me. So when I think about, oh, I need to learn this thing about what's happening in terms of the economic sector, I can reach out to folks within the LT network, right? So I'll have access to this great database and these individuals within LT, right? And so they become colleagues, friends, business associates, donors maybe, so that you have access to all those folks. And I tell you, as a past participant, I've done all those things. I've gotten friends and lower mortgage rates. So you can leverage the network, which is really important these days, or a new apartment. Like the interest rates are high, right? They're high. Anyway, just stay focused. But you have access to those folks, right? So you call one of us and we'll call Garrett because he knows how to get you a lower mortgage. I don't even know what Garrett does, but you're in the middle of my screen, so I keep picking you, right? But those things are available to you all after you graduate from the program. So I think Megan's after in a minute is going to talk to you a little bit about the knits and grits, but in terms of who's in the program, the average participant will be part of these elements, right? So you'll have 25 plus folks. We're aiming for about 35 to 42. 42 is a magic number, I think. And they'll be across all the sectors. So public sector, nonprofit, for-profit, so that you get a range of opinions and ideas from folks. And then 50% of the cohort will be people of color, at least, right? The age range, 25 to 40-ish, maybe 50-ish. But that's about the age range. I think Megan's got some good specifics about the numbers. And folks who live and work in the Puget Sound area, but they could come far and wide depending on where they are. Like I actually live very far away. So that's who's in the cohort, but that's who's in the cohort. Megan, do you want to talk a little bit more about the knits and grits of the program?
Sure. Do you want me to? So I think what you said about the demographics is definitely how the registrations are coming through. So I think the average age right now is 40, but we certainly have younger folks and older folks. And I think that's the beauty of Leadership Tomorrow is that we bring together a group of people who are diverse in lots of different ways. So these are some of the things that we are looking for in candidates, and we think will help folks be successful in this program. So I think one of the biggest things is a commitment to learning. And this is something that C. Marie already talked about is learning in public. So we want folks who want to learn together, who are enthusiastic about learning in a multiracial cross-sector environment and who are willing to contribute to class learnings. We also are looking for folks who are leaders in some capacity or who want to become leaders. So this could look like managing projects or managing teams in both either like an informal or formal context. Curiosity is one of our values and is super important for all of the programs at Leadership Tomorrow. So we seek folks who are curious and who are open to exploring different perspectives and different ways of doing things. And also curious about what they could possibly learn in this program, because you might have an idea of, I want to learn X, And you might learn X, but you'll probably learn Y and Z too. And so just being open and curious to about where this journey could take you. I've been at Leadership Tomorrow for a long time. And so I think I've seen lots of folks go through the program. And I think the people who are most successful are the people who kind of lean into the curiosity. And we're also looking for folks, as we've mentioned, who want to engage in collective learning. This is a cohort style learning environment. And so you'll learn just as much from your colleagues as you'll learn from C. Marie and our facilitators. And then we're also looking for folks who will align with our values and who are interested in things like collaboration, reflection, and accountability. C. Marie, do you want to add anything to that? I feel like last time you had some good additions.
I actually think you did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, I'll wait to see what other questions folks have.
Okay, cool. All right, I think next slide is on tuition.
Yeah.
And there was a question in the chat. So there is tuition. So it's tiered. So it's based on income, so your household income. So the true cost of the program is $2,500 for an individual. So if your income is over $110,000, you will be in that 200 or the $2,500 tier, and then we offer the lower tiers based on income. You have the option to pay all at once, or you can have opt for a payment plan. A lot of employers will contribute to tuition. So if you need help making the case to your employer, reach out to me and I can provide some materials. But that is definitely something we encourage is to have your employer help pay for tuition. I think that's it for me, C. Marie. And then I guess I'll say, so the next step is to register. So we just have a really short registration form on our website. The priority deadline was a few weeks ago, but we do still have space. We've got about 10 more spaces left. So we hope you'll register by August 25th. And then our first meeting together is orientation the morning of September 25th.
All right. So we have run through the logistics around the programs. Now we want to hear from you all, whether you want to raise your hand or put in the chat. We'd love to answer some questions for you all to see how we can help make things clear for you all. Okay, the first one I think is how much time is from work is needed. So each session is 9:30 to 2, Megan?
I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Megan's gonna confirm with me. I was like, and it is the second Friday of the month, starting in September, starting in October. Look at y'all. I'll be there at the right time once I know. And so they're all in Seattle, yes, and they're all mainly at downtown Seattle, at our offices in downtown Seattle. But it's 9:30 to 2, correct, Megan?
That is correct.
Okay. Second Friday of the month starting in October.
Yeah, October 10th is our first meeting together.
Yeah. So your employer would need to let you have off that time. But again, tell them this is a professional development class. So this is like work, right? You're going to bring these skills back. So, all right, what's the next question?
There was a question about which of the programs would you recommend for experienced employees. So as I mentioned, we now have 3 different programs that Leadership Tomorrow runs. There's one that's called LT Impact. That's a 10-month program. It's a bit more, it's longer